Hello Indie Warriors and welcome back to I Dream of Indie Games. My name's Old Gamer Joe and today I have the privilege to talk about one of my favorite classic indie games, Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons, a game that I played when it released all the way back in 2013 on my good old PlayStation 3. Now it's pretty much available everywhere. It was on Xbox 360, it did get a Steam port, and even the Nintendo Switch got in on the action. I believe the Switch version even went on to add 2-player, which is kind of strange if you know how this game works, but either way, that's also going to be a part of the remake, which is what we're talking about today. We were supplied an early demo which allowed us to play about 1 hour of this new remake that will be coming out in just a few short weeks from the release of this video. If for whatever reason you aren't familiar with Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons, well, it is a very emotionally driven, I guess you could describe it as an action puzzle game. What really set Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons apart was the bizarre control scheme that works to surprising effect, and that's also true in the remake. You would control one brother with the left stick and another brother with the right stick, and then they each had an action button of their own, and that was pretty much it. Very simplistic, but very effective. This 1 hour demo of the remake that we were supplied with allowed us to go through the first 2 chapters of the game, and things feel pretty familiar if you did play the original. Now, it's been a long time since I played the 2013 version of this game, so it was really cool to relive those moments. It definitely unlocked some memories in my brain that I had forgotten about. The biggest difference between the remake and the original, it jumps right off the screen, is the visual overhaul, especially if you turn HDR on. Yes, this game does have HDR support, and it's really transformative in this remake. Honestly, before I had toggled the HDR switch on, I kind of looked at this game and said, it looks better, but kind of washed out, not really the overhaul I was expecting, but wow, when you get the lighting kicked in with the HDR, the rays of sunlight, and all the cool little effects, the water, everything just looks amazing that way. So if you have an HDR display, definitely take advantage of that with this game. Another thing you'll notice pretty early on is the retweaked soundtrack. The original soundtrack was really great and they haven't changed it entirely, but this time the compositions feature full orchestration and sound completely fleshed out. Just beautiful. They are saying there'll be some additional secrets and story segments in this version of the game. I haven't really noticed anything in this first hour that's too different from the original. In fact, I was surprised at how a lot of the puzzle solutions came right back to me. They're just as fun to solve as they ever were, though. Many of the puzzles are going to involve using both brothers simultaneously, and that can really mess with your head when you have one on one stick and one on the other stick, and you gotta send them off into different directions. One example is this puzzle where you're being chased by a dog. You don't want to get caught by him, or it's gonna be black screen and do it all over again. One brother will have to go off in a certain direction and distract the dog that way, while the other brother sneaks around before the dog gets to him, and so on and so on. That's kind of the beauty of Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons. The puzzles aren't overly complicated or anything like that, but the controls help to make them challenging, and I really like that balance. So yeah, visually this is definitely an upgrade from the 2013 original. The soundtrack is much nicer, but other than that, it feels like comfort food. It kind of feels like you're going through the same game again, and for some people they might say, did this really need to be remade? That's yet to be determined for me. I need to play through the final version and do our full review here at I Dream of Indie Games to really make that determination, but as of now, it just feels like Brothers again. Pretty much a prettier version of Brothers. And I guess that's not a bad thing. I mean, it is one of the great indie games of all time, and I imagine for a lot of folks out there, this remake will be their first introduction to it ever, which is cool. Now, one thing I was excited about when they did announce this remake was, alright, we've got better hardware now. We can do more things with technology, and I remember Brothers kind of being held back a little bit by the PlayStation 3 back when I played it. Just the tech wasn't quite there. PS3 was no stranger to having trouble running games anyways, and Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons was no exception. So that's something I was really looking forward to, and as of this demo build anyways, the performance was a bit of a mixed bag. Now again, this is early code. I imagine this is going to get straightened out, but cutscenes in particular really struggled in this version of the game, dropping down into the teens even. When the game would switch over into gameplay, I was more in the 80s, upper 90s as far as frame rate goes. So, kind of an odd bug here. We'll see if they get the frame rates in the cutscenes up to speed to match the gameplay. Hopefully so. I did try the game at a few different resolutions before you go and say, well, maybe you just didn't have your settings right. Maybe, but I mean, I tried multiple resolutions and it didn't really seem to make any difference. I ultimately just went with the 4K Ultra settings, and that was with a 4070, and the gameplay was mostly fine. Again, very high frame rates during the gameplay sections, but the cutscenes just kind of crapped their pants. There were some other graphical oddities too, strange flickering from time to time. I don't know if this was something to do with the HDR being on or what, but that was another little bug I came across, and a lot of clipping too, where characters would go through each other and go through cliffs, that kind of thing. But again, I can't state this enough. Early build of the game hopefully won't be a problem in the final build, but just wanted to state that here. As far as this preview build goes, that was my experience. Despite the flaws with this demo build of the game, I ultimately was still happy to be playing Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons again. Whether we need a remake or not, we shall see in the final review, but I enjoyed this experience just as much as I did all those years ago. It's still really fun to control these two different brothers on two different joysticks and solve some pretty clever puzzles together. And if memory serves me right, Brothers also brought me to tears all those years ago. Let's see if I've hardened up or if it gets me to well up like I'm chopping onions all over again. Keep it locked here to I Dream of Indie Games, where we will have more coverage of Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons Remake. This is coming from developer Avant-Garde SRL and being published by 505 Games. You can get the full release, you don't have to wait all that much longer, at the end of February. It will be releasing February 28th of this year, 2024. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and head on over to patreon.com/idreamofindiegames, where you can gain Discord access, early ad-free shows, shoutouts at the end of every video we produce, and even free games depending on the tier. Your new indie gaming community is waiting for you. Voice to the voiceless, see you on the channel.